Hello there, internets, MegaMogwai here, and I got another Legends of Runeterra video for you guys today, and we are back at it. I am sorry for the lack of uploads these last few days. For those of you who don't know, it was because I was casting the Legends of Runeterra World Championships, which just ended yesterday, in case you guys don't know. I'm not sure if I should, it's not really a spoiler at this point. Essentially, Alan is your new Legends of Runeterra World Champion, and I had an absolute blast casting. I've been casting card games for quite some time, in case some of you don't know. I did so back in the day with Duelist. I cast Gwent as well, and I also did commentary for Artifact too. And I don't think I know. I never got in Magic the Gathering. I actually just was purely content creator in Magic the Gathering, but you get the gist of it, right? Like, I have been doing this for a while, and I've never had a card game tournament, and not only one that I was commentating in, but just a card game tournament period that was as exciting and as fun and just as amazing as this was. And I want to, make use of the beginning of this video to just give a big shout outs to all of you who supported me during my cast. Like, I was watching over the VODs and everything, and it's just been absolutely overwhelming, man. Like, the amount of just support and love and just I don't even know how to tackle it, to be honest. Like, it really does leave me speechless. But I can't go on this video without really tackling that a little bit, right? I feel very grateful, and this community is just the best thing ever, man. I've been a part of many, and I've been doing this for a while, and I just haven't really had an experience like that in quite a bit, and it was really, really special. So thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I had, just commentating it. It's funny because initially I intended to keep the uploads rolling because we were a pretty extensive cast, right? Like, there was quite a bit of us, and we were rotating. So I figured that in the games that I wouldn't be casting, like, I could, take some time to record a video, this and that. But it turns out that I was just so absorbed into the entire event that whenever I wasn't casting, I was literally just watching every single game, and I was hanging out with the other casters who were also, in the waiting room in that sense, and we were just like commentating to the games together and reacting to it and everything. And that's essentially what my last few days have been like. So I even had a video at one point that I recorded in the morning before we actually got the show rolling, but I did not forget to record, okay, in case some of you are wondering, but I did have a technical difficulty. For some reason, my microphone wasn't picking up, and I recorded the entire video, an amazing video, in my opinion at least, without microphone input. You can still hear the game background, but not the mic. So I had to cancel that upload, and I just decided to just, like, take a break and make sure I was fully focused on my casting gig during these few days, and the World Championship itself, just fully devoted to that. And once that was over, I would get back onto the YouTube grind. I still love that video so much that that's what you're getting today, because, ladies and gentlemen, today we are getting a React Dandy Inception edition, as I am going to be post-commentating the video that I mentioned. So what we're going to be featuring is a deck that I'm super excited to share, and that is none other than Bull Sharks. It is a Hecarim ephemeral deck with the Fallen Reckoner as a new addition. So let me actually explain what we're trying to do here. So this deck is kind of like building up on the concept that I brewed up in the early stages of the expansion release with Scion and some discard synergy, and Fallen Reckoner with Fading Memories. I really, really love this combo. In case you don't know, Fallen Reckoner is a 5-drop that's introduced within the new expansion that says, when I'm summoned, grant cannot block to the weakest enemy, and then a Last Breath effect which creates a Risen Reckoner in hand. Risen Reckoner is 3 mana, it has 6 power, and the same effect. This card is so unfair, it's crazy, and with Fading Memories, the value is just absurd, because we're able to copy it for 0 mana at burst speed, and we can play another ephemeral 3 mana Risen Reckoner and completely deny our opponent's blockers and aim for what is, in a lot of instances, a one-turn kill, as we are doing a lot of setup with this deck. That's why we're playing a full set of Shark Chariots. We also have the Soul Shepherd here, which grants allies, ephemeral allies that are summoned +1/+1. So by setting up these Shark Chariots, getting them to die as we continue to play out our curve and play these Fallen Reckoners. Once we go with the Risen Reckoner game plan, we can go Risen Reckoner, Fading Memories, Risen Reckoner, and then attack, and we bring out all the Shark Chariots, which allows us to generate a full-on attack in just a few turns. That doesn't really care about prior board presence or AoE, removal, etc, etc. That's what's really dope about Ephemerals. You just have these crazy attacks that can be generated from one play, as we are also playing a full set of the Harrowing. The downside to this archetype is, as always, defense, right? By throwing away these ephemeral units and having them die upon striking, when the opponent retaliates, we are kind of left wide open. And we are trying to mitigate that with the aid of the Neverglade Collector, which plays a defensive role, but also an offensive one as well. As a draining engine, we can use it to finish off the opponent after we get one or two very strong hits off on them and they're very low on health. Neverglade Collector, alongside our multiple abilities to spawn ephemerals, can help us finish the deal. And just really, really fun deck, man. I haven't played Hecarim in a long time. A lot of you have been asking for Hecarim for quite some time, so I wanted to share it. And these games were so amazing. I was so pissed when I realized that my microphone was not being picked up. I'm actually checking it right now. Like, now I have like PTSD with that shit. But I think I got a pretty nice experiment of a video. Not saying that my content is going to be like this by any means, but I'm just curious to see what you guys think, because I do feel like today's video, because it is a post commentary of the games, is actually, one, it's weird, yeah, like there's no denying that, and two, it's actually very much insightful. Like, it's much more insightful than my regular videos, so maybe some of you can actually enjoy that aspect, you know, with the extra commentary added onto it. And yeah, regarding the deck, we're playing Sapling Toss. I really, really like Sapling Toss. And we have an interesting champion distribution. I've been talking a lot about Hecarim because he's the champion that we're playing as a 3 of, right? Because the win condition is Hecarim, Harrowing, Prophet. But we also have a 2 of Callista and a 1-off of Maokai. I like Maokai as a 1-off in ephemeral decks because with his ongoing ability, we can actually generate an ephemeral every single round after he's played. And it's a very, very strong value engine that can also help us obtain a win condition for control matchups, essentially. Like slower decks, we can just level up Maokai and mill them effectively, removing the champions in the process. It can be a pretty powerful effect against stuff like Field and Rush, for example, amongst other things. We have some weird text, like a 1-off of Sprinto Soul, and the reason behind this is because we can use it onto the Neverglade Collector to get another copy of it and try to lethal our opponent that way. We can also use it onto a Fallen Reckoner, generate a 1/1 copy that will still, because it's summoned, take away the ability to block from the weakest enemy, and then upon dying, grant us another Risen Reckoner in hand. We have a couple of Black Spears to give us some interaction with the aforementioned Sapling Toss, which we use to pick off the opponent. Oblivious Islander can be used on some of our ephemeral units, or even Hecarim, because if we have the attack token on turn 5, I like using the Oblivious Islander to play Hecarim on turn 5, attack, and then set up a Harrowing 2 turns from now. So that's the idea behind this 1-drop here and why we're playing Sapling Toss. This card is really underrated, actually, and I think I showcased it quite well in today's video. And that's all I'm going to say. You know, I've been rambling for a little bit. Today's deck tech, you know, don't want to make it super long. I'm curious to see what you guys think about today's format because it's just so bizarre. But I thought it was also fun to do something a little bit different for a change, right? So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the matches, and that's all I gotta say. Thank you for all the love and support. You know, really made me want to cast some more stuff and potentially also maybe compete in some events myself in the future as well. Who knows? The sky's the limit. Legend of Runeterra has a bright future, and hopefully you guys are excited as I am, and that's all I gotta say. Have a soul day. Thank you for watching. Thank you for daily Legends of Runeterra content. Enjoy the games. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, here we go. React Andy Inception Edition, as we're going to cover the first matchup, which was against Noxus-based Bandle Tree with Poppy and with Fizz. This is a variant of the Bandle City sort of like Swarm archetype that is more centered around winning with the landmark instead of focusing on multiple rally effects like the Lulu Poppy variant, which I would argue is at this point stronger, but this one is still very scary because it can spread out really wide. It's in fact a meta deck, unlike ours, so that's always a reason to be a little bit concerned. And we have a bit of an issue with this deck. We have a really solid offense going on for us, right? But as an ephemeral deck, we have to be very careful with our defensive turns because we are a little bit limited in that regard. Even though cards like Haunted Relic can help us defend ourselves in that regard. Here, I'm going to decide to go for the Shark Chariot because I want to start developing the Shark Pool, like I like to call it. Essentially, I want to start filling up my graveyard with Shark Chariots, potentially even copy them with Fading Memories if I have to resort to that, as once I get that Soul Shepherd on the board, I will be able to bring them back at 4-2 stats. We also have that Sapling Toss there, which is going to be really neat here. Owl Mama, Beast Mama comes in, going to generate an Owlcat as we have no way to block into that, and we are going to be going for the Sapling Toss here, like I mentioned, as we're going to get a 3-2 Sapling thanks to our Soul Shepherd, which will allow us to combine that with a Callista Haunted Relic play. That's what I'm really thinking about here. I'm looking at my mana, and I realize that next turn I have 4 mana and 1 spell mana in the back, which means I have a total of 5. This allows me to set up the Haunted Relic Callista combo, which is really good because it is an automatic level up for Callista. And with Soul Shepherd on the board, I can also gain extra value out of these cards. Unfortunately, after seeing that Pokey Stick, that leads me to believe that my opponent is indeed playing Ravenous Flock, and my Soul Shepherd is going to bite the dust. So I try to at least force that out of them. If they have it, if their removal is not fast speed, I get the value. If they have it, I cry every time. It is what it is. We lose the Soul Shepherd, and that is indeed what's going to happen right here. Don't really want to spoil like what's going to happen, but you know, I'm new to this narration, so bear with me. We still get the Haunted Relic, we still get 3 ephemeral units, gonna be generating a total of 5 ephemeral attackers potentially, unless any sort of disruption happens, which means that if I play Callista, I will effectively guarantee her lineup after my opponent goes to, especially after playing this 2-drop. Stops my fearsome attack, but I can always drag that 3-2 with the Sapling. Because of my fearsome, neither Mama nor the Owlcat can block me, so that is what I end up doing here. Get that Shark back, and we're gonna get that level up with Callista, which is threatening to continue to spawn more Sharks upon attacks from this point onward. So I'm liking this point of the game, but I also do know that this is where my opponent starts flooding as well. So I have to keep that in mind. Hecarim is a solid win condition here, but I'm hoping to draw more late game prowess, right? Like we want to see that harrowing. But more than anything, that heroine. Callista gets angry. Very, very, very angry. And smacks him in the face for 5 damage. Dropping down my opponent down to 13. Double Fading Memories can be a little bit awkward if I don't draw some more followers here. But I can always potentially use them against my opponent's own followers. And there are some juicy targets that could be available for us. So we got that Hecarim almost leveled up, essentially, when it comes down. But then, here I'm like, oh no, but heart of the cards, baby. I pick up another Hecarim, never doubt it, never worried. And here I'm like, I have no play. And I was thinking about keeping the spell mana to go alongside Hecarim, but I'm just like, I need to refuel. I'm actually running out of gas. So why not Fading Memories, this is Aloof Travelers, which is a pretty good card, by the way. Draw through my deck, get that sweet harrowing, and also get a little bit of information, remove Minimorph. Maybe that was their only Minimorph, which allows me to play Hecarim next turn and attack without having to get countered by that card, which sounds amazing. And also, something really strong about this Fading Memories Aloof Traveler's play is that Aloof Traveler's stat line represents the strongest out of all of the units that have died for me, which means, I think you get an idea. Callista is no longer going to be bringing back the Shark Chariot. She's going to be bringing back those pissed off travelers. BFFs. We see the other Minimorph. I cry every time, but like I said, I still got that juicy, never mind. We tried. Our opponent completely shuts us down here with a combination of Minimorph and the Hex Field, Minefield, English. I don't remember the exact name. But he taps out exactly to be able to handle us, and now Poppy goes down. And here I just don't really have any other option than just to go for this play again. Why not? You know, your Aloof Travelers, my Aloof Travelers. I'm going to go for the Fading Memories play again. And now I get very valuable information because as I discard that Bandle tree, that tells me no more Minimorphs and no other Poppies in hand, because Poppy does convert to a 6 mana slow speed spell. And what's really looking juicy here, even though Hecarim got mini-morphed, which means he does not return, Harrowing can bring back these ephemeral aloof travelers. And even if I lose Callista here, which, spoilers, it's unfortunately gonna happen with this 2-card removal combo, I will bring her back with Harrowing, and when she attacks, she will bring back another aloof travelers, which is just absolutely hilarious. I enable the Black Spear, but I don't go for it because I need that spell mana for the... Actually, never mind. I'm at 7. Yeah, math. Spanish math. Yeah, I counted, and I realized that even after playing this Black Spear, I do still have the mana to go for the Harrowing next turn. I don't need any sort of other mana backup. Like, Harrowing should be enough for me to just plow through my opponent, or at least, that was the original plan, right? So, this game, even though we're not that great on defense, we've managed to apply so much pressure and answer our opponent's turns as well, that because we demanded so much mana out of our opponent to deal with our offense, sometimes the best offense is, or the best defense is a good offense. I totally ruined that, but whatever. We get double aloof travelers, and right there, you guys see, we discard a Bandle tree, and I forgot what the other card was. But I know that when I attack here, I'm going to spawn another one. This is just... Come on, this is just fucking beautiful, man. This is just so... I'm not the one playing Bandle Tree. I'm not playing Bandle City, so you cannot blame me for this. This is just the most degenerate shit, and I was just absolutely loving it. Look at that face. Look at that face right there. Like, that is a very, very happy man. And I think a lot of you can understand why. As my opponent does play the House Spider, which allows him to keep up with my momentum here and really halt my attack. I only end up getting 6 damage onto him, but I do get to wipe his board and generate an absurd amount of card advantage while also shutting down their win conditions with the Bandle trees. As I was expecting maybe one to come down here, but that did not happen because the last aloof travelers that came out discarded a Mayor, which means his highest cost card in hand is at best 3 mana. So we've completely depleted our late game with this aloof combo that I totally planned from the very beginning, by the way. Just, you can't prove otherwise. And yeah, I'm on cloud 9 right now. Even though this thing comes down, and I always get a little bit irritated when it comes onto the board, but it is what it is. Now though, I see my opponent... Because I was thinking about using the Harrowing to just finish them off again, right? But of course, Aloof Travelers comes down. That is the second Aloof Travelers for my opponent, keeping track of that as well. So here I realized that ultimately what I have to do is I have to resort to the Neverglade Collector win condition. But ultimately, the best way to do that is to drop Maokai first and then play the Neverglade. I don't have enough mana. I'm missing out by 1 mana to be able to play them back to back. So I will play Maokai instead. And then develop the Neverglade Collector afterwards to trigger the Maokai passive and get the sapling on, which will die at the end of the turn. And we'll get the drain mechanic going. Double Neverglade Collector really does seem like enough to shut this game down, especially considering we've already seen a lot of removal from our opponent. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. Not really caring about working for the Maokai level up, just want that ephemeral spawn. But, also working for that as well in case the game drags out. But I'm really trying to close things here. Generating that sapling also gives me a free chump blocker, which is really nice. Definitely still expect an attack from the opponent, at the very least from the elusive units. And if he has some way to enable Fizz, which he does not. This gives me the information that if he does have a spell, he's not willing to play it. And I'm blocking my Manatee right there, my Mini-Morph thing, because I want every useless unit that I have, I want it to die, because I have the Neverglade engine going. And if I free up my space, I can also enable a Haunted Relic, for example. So the idea here is pretty straightforward. We want to play another Neverglade Collector at the beginning of our round here to trigger the sapling. Even though we do see Hecarim right there. But okay, no. Here I draw Hecarim, and I'm like, you know what? They're not going to have another Aloof Travelers. They're not going to top deck another Aloof Travelers here. We're fine. We're going to lead off with the Soul Shepherd so we can get the boost on the sapling before playing Hecarim. I didn't think I was being too greedy here, but very clearly I was, because you guys are going to see the motherfucking third. I was so pissed at this point. Like, I was actually so frustrated. It's insane. I was like, okay, you know what? I should just drop Hecarim, but I mean, who can expect, like, this card tilts me. It's funny because I'm tilted, but I've, like, abused the hell out of this card this match, so I'm just, like, being a massive hypocrite here, which I am definitely aware of in hindsight. Regardless, I go with the Neverglade Collector win con instead. I'm still feeling really confident here because what I can do is I can set up an attack with both the Sapling and also the Soul Shepherd, actually, because I want to free up that space so that then, after that attack finishes, I can go for the Haunted Relic for the win, right? That's the idea here. So I'm waiting for my opponent to see if they have some sort of answer to remove at least one of my... I find it very hard to believe they can handle both Neverglade Collectors, but seeing this Buster Shot leads me to believe that he may have something like a Ravenous Flock. So I see that right there, and I'm just going to drag the Sapling, I would believe, onto the Fizz. You know, I'd like to believe that's the decision I made here. And I'm just going to attack with the Soul Shepherd just to bait that out and get all those sharks in. You forgot about the Shark Chariots, so did I, but no need to remember that. Maokai about to level up, a little bit irrelevant at this point since we're trying to finish off the game here this turn. And overall, I was just really happy with how the strategy worked out. Like the harrowings, like I don't feel like I drew like particularly amazing, and I don't think my opponent drew particularly terribly either. Like I think it was a pretty fair match all through and through. And the strategies has just really worked out. So for a game one of the recording, like I was really happy with this. This was a very neat, you know, with the icing on the top here, with the Maokai level up here. I'm just talking about, you know, things and stuff. Probably speaking to the relevance of this level up. As this sweet attack with the Shark Chariots finish off. Don't even need the Haunted Relic. And we take out game one, baby. As... yeah, I agree. All right, round two. As we run into Feel the Rush. I know a lot of you have been watching the World Championships. Have seen this, like, I was going to say this deck slapping, and I got ahead of myself, and that's slack. 10 out of 10 duration. So yeah, I'm going to go for the mulligan, and what I'm really doing is I'm trying as hard to fish for Shark Chariots. In this sort of matchup, Shark Chariots are really important because they represent a continuous offense through an onslaught that is just it keeps coming regardless of our opponent's board wipes. It plays similarly to kind of like how Blade Dance does in a way, right? Even if the opponent wipes, as long as I'm able to generate one sapling every attacking turn, I will be able to bring back the other Shark Chariots that went down, and therefore the value and the damage output can be really difficult for this region combination to deal with, especially with a Soul Shepherd that puts them above Withering Whale range. So I'm aiming to do just that. I play the sapling here. I draw into another Shark Chariot, which I'm very happy to see, as now I'm threatening to just attack for 5 damage right here. But I'm also debating because I'm expecting a potential pass here, and I believe that there is a good argument for me just passing here, but I want to level up Hecarim is the thing. Like that's the tricky aspect here. But making my opponent burn 3 mana and miss out on their potential, because I was expecting Catalyst of Aeons here, right? So by missing out on that, I get that Shark Chariot on the on the pool, and I'm able to set up Maokai here. And all of a sudden, my opponent is just having a bit of an awkward time here. I don't see a reason to believe that he actually had the Catalyst of Aeons, even though that's what I was generally playing around when I passed that last turn, because here he would have played it after seeing the Maokai. Maokai is a bit of an awkward unit for them to deal with because of the 4 health. They tend to ping things with damage, so they're always going to have to spend more than 1 card to remove it. And drawing the Oblivious Islander just allows me to go a little bit wider without sacrificing any momentum or mana, rather, as I'm going to be able to reduce the cost of this Shark Chariot right here. And we lead off with this to set up the sapling here. My opponent has several options, but the beautiful thing about Shark Chariot here is that I can play it, and even if they avalanche, I can just go for the Haunted Relic. And as I attack with my Ephemerals, the Shark Chariots will return. So that's what I'm talking about. They're really good in this specific matchup. My opponent's not doing anything. So I'm really confused. So I'm just like swinging with everything, bringing out the other Shark, and definitely at this point expecting a Withering Whale, right? Which is exactly what he ends up going for. I'm going to try to go for a Glimpse Beyond on one of these units. It doesn't really matter which one, as I want to refill a little bit, as he definitely shut us down here. Like I said, this is why I was mentioning, you know, just how important Soul Shepherd can be in this specific matchup, but any sort of Shadow Owl's base control scenario, because getting that +1 health on your sharks just really it just matters. Everything matters. Like, everything matters. Good job, Miguel. Trundle goes down. I play Hecarim because he wants me to send them to battle. Gonna continue progressing for like low-key progressing for that Maokai level up as well, which would allow me to shut down their field rush. The problem is I just don't think this deck can enable a Maokai level up just as fast for that to happen. So the main game plan is still to break through. My opponent plays Trundle as I drop Hecarim, and here I'm looking at the idea of following up with a Fallen Reckoner, because playing Fallen Reckoner here is actually really strong. I'm worried about the sapling, right? I would like to play the Soul Shepherd first before the sapling, but at the same time, I want to generate that Fallen. I really want that Fallen Reckoner. The problem is Ruination. Ruination is really scary. So I'm really debating here. If I lead off with the Soul Shepherd, I get an extra body, and I also get to boost my ephemerals, which just could also just lead to straight up lethal. So I'm just really debating here. I'm really terrified about Ruination, because even though we can still set up the Fallen Reckoner afterwards, it's not really the kind of Fallen Reckoner play I want to go for here. I'm really just... Sometimes you got to take a bit of a gamble, and here I decided to go with that because this value is just too good, and it's just one card. And it's not like it's a complete blowout. Like, I can still get Harrowing later, right? So it's still very much winnable from that point onwards. But if they don't have Ruination, if they go under, even not only Ruination, but also under Vengeance mana, we're in business, ladies and gentlemen. Because I go for this Glimpse Beyond just to pick up more options, but I know exactly what my play is going to be here. I'm going to drop that Fallen Reckoner, take away the ability to block from Trundle, and just go for the kill. That's essentially what we're going to be trying to do here. As we find more Fading Memories, which we can use on the Risen Reckoner later. And here we go. We could see something like a Withering Whale here, for example, right? Which is also encouraging me to, like... But, I mean, it doesn't matter, because if he goes for it preemptively, then he doesn't deal with the sharks, right? So he can't really actually do that. So my opponent's in a very, like... really, really tough position. I don't exactly remember what happens here because, like I said, these games were a few days ago. So, join me in the surprise factor here. Let's see. I dropped this. He has 6 mana left. Like I said, no Vengeance. No threat of Vengeance. We did see Shihu tech in some Despairs for the World Championship, but I was definitely not expecting that out of this particular opponent because that was a very specific tech for Nami. So, not really expecting removal here because my Hecarim is just out of range of everything. But we do see the second Avalanche go down, which does take down my Soul Shepherd. But at this point, I mean, this has to be lethal. Yeah, I think I just killed him here. Like, the power of Hecarim shines in this match. And that's what I loved about this game. Like, I love the fact that I just bring out Hecarim. And he really showcases, yeah, he doesn't see barely any play whatsoever, but you gotta respect him, man. Really happy with the Shark Chariot setup, like everything, and I'm really enjoying myself, clearly. Alright, just go to the next one. Directly. Okay. So here we're facing a very scary matchup. Terrifying, actually. Because they have my favorite champion, aka Rally. Rally is really good against us because as you guys can see, like, you guys can have an idea of the play pattern of this deck at this point. The main issue that I have against this sort of deck, and more so than like the Bandle tree variant, is that by threatening me with multiple attacks every turn, my opponent can really capitalize on my poor defense. I'm drawing like all these Soul Shepherds, and this is like not a bad series of draws here. Like, this could be a really strong setup with like multiple Soul Shepherds, just giving me extremely powerful ephemeral plays. But the problem is, if we both ignore our attacks and just focus on our own attacks in this specific matchup, because my offense requires a certain amount of setup, it is inherently slower, which means I am just quite susceptible to a blowout here, actually. So I'm concerned about that for sure. I'm gonna drop the Shark Chariot and attack with it. Again, contributing to the setup so that next turn I can drop some more Soul Shepherds and then try to hit him with that big, beefy Haunted Relic. The issue is, because my attackers are ephemerals and they have a bunch of chump blockers and units that generate other units, I don't know how many blocks I'm going to be able to force here. I'm thinking about going for the Withering Wheel, but it effectively only removes one unit in the Flea Feather Tracker. So I believe that actually going for the Black Spear is the play to go here. And that's the conclusion that I'm reaching here. So there's not really any other option. Like, I can't really afford a Withering Wheel. Withering Wheel is just really bad. I could try to go for a Haunted Relic to defend, but I need that Haunted Relic to attack. And that's the issue. That's the issue here. This game is definitely a different case compared to the already, even without rallies. Like, it's a different scenario compared to like the first Bandle tree matchup that we had. And yeah, it just goes to show that, you know, this deck is really fun, has a lot of really awesome like power output potential, but it's also vulnerable. It's also very much vulnerable. It has a glaring weakness, like all ephemeral decks do. Look at my face. I'm definitely not encouraged. I am anything but encouraged in this current scenario, as we're just gonna have to take all that damage. I can't really afford to lose both of my Soul Shepherds here. I wanna get some actual value and force my opponent, give him a good reason to block. The problem is that Beast Mama just keeps generating these free chump blockers, and you got that. I mean, you guys don't see him, but you got the doggo with the bazooka below me just going crazy as well, and that's also not great for morale either. So here I'm also like low on curve. I don't really have anything else. Like, I could be like I said, I'm not blaming my draws here, because I could top deck a Harrowing and then Do re mi fa sol la kill you. That's like my favorite line. Here we go. We get 3 3s Haunted Relics, and this Shark that we bring back will be a 5-3. Normally that would be a very menacing attack, but here my opponent can just block for days, man. He had a 2-drop that generated 2 free units. He plays a 4-drop that gives split into 2 different bodies. He doesn't even need to block into these Haunted Relics. You just keep the rest, and he knows that I'm vulnerable. It's going to force me to play the Sapling Toss defensively to try to stand a chance here, but I know very well this is what I was really worried about. Especially after seeing that. This mayor is just like, my opponent's just going turbo because of this mayor, and because I have to deal with Poppy, I had no real way to deal with it, and yeah, it's not looking great. Because you got the 4 damage from the elusive plus the 2 damage from the impact already representing 6, but then I only have 3 blockers for these 4 non-elusive attackers, which essentially means I'm pretty much dead. Yeah, pretty much exact. I mean, I can block into the mayor. I mean, I have the Withering Whale, right? Like, don't get me wrong. But the issue with this deck is that alongside this, you know, swarmy tactic, because if it wasn't for this, like, maybe I could top deck something really strong here, right? Like I said, like a Harrowing or something. But the thing about this variant of Bandle is they have, like, at the very least, 3 rallies. And that's going low. Like, they probably have more, but they don't even need that. They just need to go for the Sharp Sight, which forces me to go for the Withering Whale. And now I don't have the Black Spear enabled, which makes it so that if they have said rally effect, I'm dead. But also, you know what it could do as well? Another Sharp Sight, because why the fuck not? Yu-Gi-Oh over here. like that even. Nah, he wasn't that lucky. It's just salty. I cry every time. And we get completely run down by Bandle Tree. And it's very important to showcase this matchup as well, because as fun as this deck is, and as fun as this deck is, it has weaknesses. And that was a good example of that. But then I queued into my last match of the session, and that is against Zoe Nami. Definitely a matchup that I wanted to showcase. Another pretty damn good deck that I wanted to see if I could challenge with this quirky build. I don't know about you, but I was having so much fun just playing Hecarim. Even when I was just getting blowback by Yordles and rallies and sharp sights. Every time I queued into a new game with this deck and I saw, you know, those Shark Chariots, the Fallen Reckoner, like, this deck not only is really fun to play in the way the synergies function, but the cards also just look dope as fuck. Like, I'm a huge fan of the Neverglade Collector art, for example. The Fallen Reckoner looks amazing. Like, even the Oblivious Islander. Big fan. Ooh, I love this play. So, because I don't need to reduce the cost of the Shark Chariot right here, right? Because I can already play it alongside my Oblivious Islander. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to reduce the cost of my Fallen Reckoner. By doing this, I can play Fallen Reckoner on turn 4 with Ephemeral, have it die, and get the Risen Reckoner out of them. And then I can follow that up with another Fallen Reckoner on turn 5. This allows me to play them back to back one turn earlier at the expense of losing one, but at the end of the day, we actually do want to get something out of it because my opponent could be threatening with some sort of attack next turn, because that's when Zoe Nami starts to pop off, right? If they draw it properly, I can set up an ephemeral blocker that can discourage them from doing so, unless they're threatening me with elusives right here. Here, I'm looking at this attack. I'm thinking about my opponent, and I don't know if he's trying to wait for my attack and do something, so I'm going to make him burn that mana. Against Zoe Nami, especially because he has to work for Nami's level up, delaying Nami is definitely worth 5 damage, especially considering I can essentially set up some sort of OTK if I play these Reckoners correctly. That's an elusive unit. I can't block it. Regardless, it doesn't matter. I get to play the Fallen Reckoner, and I get to deny their Lifestealer the ability to block. I don't think I have to go into further detail why that is as good as it is. My opponent is going to go for a Pale Casket here just to, because this way you get more damage and also cycle into the deck and actually attuning at the end of the round, right? Contributing therefore to Nami's level up. So that was a pretty straightforward play right there as they're trying to set up and find their pieces. In the meanwhile, I'm going to go for the Glimpse Beyond. I know this deck has no interaction for this sort of play whatsoever. Like I'm not playing something like Draven Caitlyn. I don't have to worry about, you know, get excited or anything here. So I can just actually make use of this ephemeral unit that's going to die anyways at the end of my round and draw through my deck, as I also get a Fallen Reckoner in hand, which makes my Fading Memories pretty damn sexy. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. As I pick up the Harrowing as well. Something also really dope about this matchup is there's no deny, no rider negation, which means that if I want to go for a Harrowing, I go for a Harrowing. And I'm working towards that because now I already have, not only are we getting Shark Chariots in the pool, but we're also getting Fallen Reckoners as well in the graveyard, which makes my Harrowing already looking pretty scary, especially with a Neverglade Collector in hand as well. But because of the fact that this deck can just beef up these lifesteal units and make them huge, it's better for me to approach this matchup by trying to, like I said, one turn shot them. Like, I want to kill them in one big hit. And that's what I'm trying to aim for here. I'm low on mana though, unfortunately. Like here this turn, I definitely want to get doing things, but I don't really want to set up anything right now. Like I could play this Shark Chariot, which is what I'm looking at, since I do definitely got to get it on, you know, on the graveyard as well. As there's nothing to, I'm not going to play Fallen Reckoner or even Risen Reckoner when there's nothing to give the, or the, what's the status? Like just make them on, let's go with like Legion Rearguards. Convert them into Legion Rearguards. I can't do that. So ultimately here, even though I could have passed back to my opponent, I'm going to decide and apply a bit of pressure and just drop this Shark Chariot so I can continue the setup a little bit more. Because once I do that, even I may not even have to resort to something like Harrowing. I can just go Fallen Reckoner into Fading Memories into Fallen Reckoner. And with the Shark Chariots, I make this so that even if I have no board, the combination of Fallen Reckoners and Shark Chariots can potentially fill up my attack line and make my opponent cry vigorously, as they cannot block into any of them. I wonder if I ramble like a lot when I'm doing my React and the Inception thing, but like I said, the first time that I do this, and at least I give a lot more insight, right, as to what's going on, because it's much easier for me to talk about these things. There's Shelly, so there's a lot more going on here. Like right now, as I'm thinking my play, if I'm thinking my plays, like it's hard for me to like completely narrate everything. But now that I see that, I drop this fallen. This Risen Reckoner, actually, and I remove Shelly as a blocker. And I am threatening with a huge hit here that will demand him to beef up that Shelly. Sorry, not that Shelly, the Sparkle Fly next turn to get that health back with a Lifesteal Swing. I'm still healthy, so I don't feel like, even though Shelly has gone down, I don't believe I will die in one turn. You know, the deck is nutty, but it has its limits in that regard. So here I'm gonna go for a Fading Memories onto the Fallen Reckoner. I just love this combo, man. And I get the other shark out as well. 14. Did I actually say 11? I meant 14. I just keep I play these sharks and I just forget they're there. Well, React Andy forgets they're there. Nami goes down, so as usual, for a brief moment, I shit my pants, and then I'm like, okay, are we dead? And then, after I'm done with that thought process, I'm like, alright, let's see what we can do here. That's literally my brain every time I see this champion. I shit myself, and then I start rationalizing a little bit. But yeah, Nami goes down, he's got 6 mana to go. And I'm worried about a potential blowout here and me just dying because they have both Nami and Shelly, right? But I don't feel like he just does not have enough mana, right? He hasn't played enough spells to enable the Burble Fishes either. I'm obviously going to block into Nami here. We're going to take 9 damage. My opponent's going to go back up to 12 unless my opponent goes for another boost here, which could definitely happen. And after this block happens, I have several options. I could go for the Fallen Reckoner, right? If I play the Fallen Reckoner here, that empowers my Harrowing. What I cannot do is I cannot play Risen Reckoner and Black Spear at the same time. Well, I can never play 2 cards at the same time. But I think you can understand what I'm trying to say here. I can't play both these turns because if I do that, I don't have enough mana. I miss out on 1 mana to play Harrowing next turn, which is 100% what I have to be doing here. Because I will already be bringing back a Fallen Reckoner, which will allow me to remove Nami as a blocker as well. And that's what ultimately I want to go for. I just want to spread out and try to like one-shot him here before he can have enough momentum to develop blockers, right? Like these unblockable status to both of these units are really going to put in the work now. But ultimately, I decide that maybe something can go wrong, right? Maybe something happens and I just am not able to deal with them, or Nami gets something going off and is able to stop, sponge my Overwhelm attack with the 1 blocker that they can play after I play Harrowing. So ultimately I decide that it's better, instead of playing the Fallen Reckoner, it is actually just better to drop the Black Spear and get Nami out of the way, so that if they do develop a blocker, it will likely be very understated initially, and thus it'll increase my chances of lethal. So here I just go for it. I go for it. I get a Fallen Reckoner and a Risen Reckoner. There's only 1 unit though, so it is a little bit redundant, but they got that size and that muscle and that Overwhelm as well. As I'm going to take that Burblefish and take away the ability for it to block, meaning that my opponent only... He may have several options in hand, but he only has 1 play here to set up a blocker. And that's what I'm banking on. I'm trying to kill this Zoe Nami before it can kill me. And I'm pretty confident about my ability to win in the race here, especially with them having 6 mana left. I'm going to keep the Islander in the back because I have another shark to bring out, and that has more power, naturally. And here I go. Like, I'm just like, okay, how the hell can you survive this? And we're going to see some funky plays, actually, because what I did not expect was Dio. That was a terrible JoJo reference. But as we can see, he goes for the Hush onto the Burblefish, generates the blocker onto that. I still have lethal though. He has another Hush that allows him to buff these units, and he can set up another blocker, but still not enough. and we knock him out. And there's no, even if you blocked into the overwhelms, it didn't matter. And we get the win. And that was just a sexy. That game was just so satisfying. And you know, the thing is just gonna stop here. But I guess I could end the video with a little bit of a speech, I guess. Really happy with how his deck performed. But I definitely want to clarify that it's not a top tier deck. I do like. I also just want like, just for viewers in general, just I want to be real here for a second. Like, I make decks every single day, right? So I don't generally make my decks expecting them to be, you know, played in the World Championship or for them to be top tier, because that takes optimization, right? I definitely encourage a lot of you who watch my videos and see my decks and try them out to tweak them yourselves, to improve them. Well, because over time, as the sample size increases and you play more and more with them, you get a broader perspective of all sorts of different matchups, what cards actually could do better, etc., etc. So I always encourage my viewers to try to upgrade my decks and see if they can do that, because I try to share, you know, new lists constantly, because that's how I like to do my content. And you know, just want to be real with that. Nonetheless, I was very happy with this deck's performance. I definitely was not expecting to perform so well. Like, I had, like you guys saw there, 4 games. And I didn't skip any games. Like, all the games that I had, I uploaded. And we had a really positive run. It was a very limited run, nonetheless. And you can argue the Nami Zoe player didn't draw that great. And there's a big difference between, you know, high caliber Nami Zoe players and lesser caliber ones, right? But I'm really happy how I was able to. I essentially faced 4 meta decks. 4 decks that were in the World Championship. And we went 3-1. With a very fun Hecarim strategy. I feel like there's a lot of really cool things going on for the synergy, and it's just a really damn fun deck to play. And I wanted to share it. I want to share it so bad that I made this bizarre as fuck video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about this post-commentary edition. You know, less dynamic, I guess, but more insightful, perhaps. And hopefully some of you at least enjoyed it. And tomorrow we'll be back at it with regular uploads. And that's all I gotta say. Have a swell day. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for daily Legends of Runeterra content. Hope you enjoyed the games. I'll see you tomorrow.